So in my dog remembrance, I was trying to fathom why the relationship between Madame Yes and the man disintegrated and fell apart. So in my dog remembrance, where I wasn't even there, but I could access in foggy, unclear, murky depictions, murky recollections, disjointed, but nonetheless actually accurate, dog remembrance. You're remembering it. It might be hard to, but in my dog remembrance, as I was trying to fathom why Madame Yes and the man didn't work out, I saw this situation, not playing out in my mind. Now it's in my mind because it's only in my dog remembrance. It already happened. It doesn't exist anymore. Only in my dog remembrance. And who knows? There could be parakeet, snail, cockroach, ant, gnat remembrance. So there may be a lot of untapped resource that people could go back and study history, because I know if you could get into the dog's brain, you could know exactly, you could even determine, hey, is Clarence Thomas right or was Bear right? Is Sadamaya Galea, is she correct? Or is Anthony Scalado, is he correct? You don't know on the whole judicial thing, so it doesn't matter. But in my personal dog remembrance, and maybe they could study my dog remembrance, who knows? I remember a fight that Madame Yes and the man were having, and I think it sheds a lot of light. And while I can't remember exactly Madame Yes's verbiage and her voice, I can remember the man's. And so the man was he was bourbon-esque. He was kind of tooted up a little bit on some really good high-dollar bourbon. And the man, he liked to drink his bourbon on an empty stomach. And God bless him. He drank it on an empty stomach. So like the first 3 sips, he was like, ah! He started slurring his speech. It was marvelous. So he says, I'm going to tell you something, man. And I never heard the man say man before. He goes, let me tell you something, man. And I was like, God bless. Yeah, Madame Yes must have slipped him a Mickey. She gave him a roofie, I think, that night so she could sneak out with Richie. But anyway, after 3 sips, he was like, it was empty stomach, an empty belly. But he shouldn't have got that drunk right away. He goes, there's still kinds of people, my friend. And she said, listen, I'm not your friend. I'm Madame Yes. You're lucky I'm even sitting here with you. Don't refer to me as your friend. I'm, a little more significant. I'm much too important to be called your friend. And he says, listen, there's 2 kinds of people, man. I guess you're the one kind and I'm the other. And she goes, oh, yeah? Do tell. And he says, man, there's people that make things complicated, and there's people that keep it simple. And she didn't say nothing. And the little girl dog jumped up on her lap, and she looked at the man, and she was like, you're exactly right. She wasn't talking then. She never had the experience with the collar at that point. In my dog remembrance, the little girl never had ratted out Madame Yes or anything. But the little girl dog was looking like, I wish I could talk. And I would say, yeah, you're exactly right. But, no one noticed. Madame Yes was like nervous, and the man was so drunk he didn't even see. The girl dog was taking up for him. I was staying off to the side, but me and the girl dog weren't really as close then as we would become. And he tried to say again something about how there's 2 kinds of people, the complicated and the simple. The things that he said there's 2 kinds of people. One kind makes things complicated, the other kind keeps it simple. And she said, because it embarrassed her, because she knew she was trying to make it complicated, because she's always trying to obfuscate. If you're slipping the man a roofie, you better slip the dog a roofie, the little girl dog a roofie, the cat a roofie, because maybe there's dog remembrance, the cat remembrance, or little girl dog remembrance. Maybe there's, hermit crab remembrance. You don't know, so you better be careful. You have to give them all the Mickeys. But she just gave the man the Mickey because she didn't realize that. She didn't understand that. But she wasn't kind of worried, but she was embarrassed. And the little girl dog, she started spazzing out a little bit because she was like, I wish I could talk. I would tell everybody the truth. Madame Yes is a hoe. She's a bitch. Or whatever. It didn't matter. But Madame Yes says, as the man was drifting off into his roofie slumber, where she could have raped him then, but she was going to go have sex with somebody else, so it didn't matter. But she says, so he could still hear in his kind of foggy days, she says, there are 2 kinds of people. There's the kind of people that keep their hair. And then the man dozed off. He wasn't there to hear whatever she said. I think she said something about like this. She went, there's the people that keep their hair, and then there's the people with the big dicks. And I think she said that kind of nasty because she was going to go have sex with another guy with a bigger dick than the man. I don't know. I wasn't there. This is only my dog remembrance. I wasn't specifically there to see it. I wasn't specifically there to see Madame Yes go, yeah, there are two kinds of people. Those kind of people that keep their hair and those kind with big dicks. And I think she was trying to say the man wasn't keeping his hair good enough and he didn't have a big enough dick, but it kind of contradicted itself. It's like, well, I mean, so, if you better have a big dick if you can't keep your hair. And if you can keep your hair, you could have a pleasing dick. You don't have to have a big one if you can keep your hair. That's, so I didn't understand what she was saying. As a dog, and my dog remembers to say, I don't get it. But when the man kind of stirred awake, like in the next morning, like at 9 a.m., he was like groggy because he had been roofied. And Madame Yes said a good night. No one was around. It was just me and the man. I was laying on the Roman-esque a purple carpet, the special purple carpet in the big parlor room over on the side that no one ever stepped on. Or I was laying on it, the one that the little Indian boy had given, a grasshopper who hops along on one leg, had given to the man's great-great-grandpa. So that's where I was laying on. But the man, he woke up and was like, oh, my God. And we talked, and I actually tried to put on my dog, cone so I could go make him coffee. I couldn't make him coffee. He kind of came in and started yelling and screaming at me, saying, and then when we walked back in the other room, he finally got a cup of coffee, and I just laid down. He's like, good boy, good boy. I was like, yeah, I know I'm a good boy. Get away from me, will you? And he started mumbling and bantering and babbling on. And he said, I had this weird dream. And he kind of became lucid for a second. He said, I had this weird dream. And in this dream, Madame Yes, she says to me, there's two kinds of people in this world. And I looked at the man. I thought, buddy, I hope you know where you're going with this because it's not going to be pretty. And the man was like, she said there's two kinds of people in the world, those who keep their hair. And the man, he combed his hand through his hair like he thought he was really keeping his hair. He had enough hair to make a human toupee. He had his own hair. He had his own toupee that he could push around and try to make, like Donald Trump tries to make a toupee, or other people, whatever, it doesn't matter. The people that make their own hair toupee out of whatever hairs they got left, that's the kind of thing that, the man was happy. He stroked his hair like, she must have been meaning me. When she said there's two kinds of people. But then the man, he looked at me, he says, but then she said the other kind of person, that you got the kind of person who keeps their hair, and then you got the kind of person who takes a big, long amount of time to take a poop. The people go in there, whether it's publicly or in their own bathroom, they take a half hour, poop oozes out of them. A big amount comes out right away, but then they have 3 or 4 little poops, and they read the paper till all the poops come out. The people that go in, they like to drink their own coffee. It's like poop coffee you're drinking right there. It's inundated with the stench of your own poop. You're going to bring your coffee in the bathroom and start drinking it? Even after you're having a half-hour-long poop session? You're going to drink that coffee? It's inundated. It's enamored with poop stand. What are you crazy? They smoke cigarettes. They read the paper. Some of them nosh. Some of them eat danishes. They have long poop sessions. And the man said, that's what the Madame Yes says to me. There's two kinds of people. The kind of people who keep their hair, into the men who keep their hair in their middle ages, and the kind of men who take long poop sessions. And I was like, God bless, The man, he could be right. That could be the kinds of, you got the two kinds of people, the kinds that make things complicated and the kind that keep it simple. And that could be wrong. That maybe isn't the two kinds of people in the world. Maybe it's the kind that keep their hair into their middle age and their older age, good head of hair. And the other, they take long poop sessions. They take forever to go and take a poop. They cleanse themselves. They get it all out. But it's like, who wants to wait around for you for 35 minutes while you take a poop? Like long poop people. People who keep their hair people and long poop people. And that was it, People who keep it complicated, people who keep it simple. But that was it. Those were the kinds of people there were in the world. And I thought, that might be right. And then I thought, well, there's the ones that are religious, and then there's the ones that are non-religious. And then there's the ones that are kind of like outside people, and the ones that are kind of like inside people. And then there's the kind that eat beef and meat, and the ones that like to eat the vegetables and the legumes. And it could go on and on and on and on. Then there's the kind of people that like to have sex after they've bathed and they're like nice and clean, they could do whatever they want. They could lick any parts nice. And then there's the kind of people like to have sex when they're like dirty, like even not dirty, but lathered up, exercise and have sex. You know, that's the kind of, I'm like, wow, that's funky. That's weird. That's a little kinky, but it goes on and on. There's the kind of people that like charms lollipops. And then there's the kind of people that like charms blow pops. You got the people that like the regular candy canes and the people that like the cherry candy canes. It just goes on and on. So whatever. It doesn't matter, but, you know. The one thing, you know, as a dog, when I thought about it all, I thought that the one thing I would take from it is, you know, you got the kind of people that step on spiders or the kind of people that run away from spiders. You know, you got the kind of people that make it more complicated, and you got the kind of people that keep it simple.